This lesson is going to cover setting up a composition to match your source footage and breaking down a project. This is what After Effects looks like when you first start it up. To make sure we're all looking at the same screen, you can go up to the top right of your toolbar where it says Workspace. Make sure it's set to Standard. If it doesn't look like this but still says Standard, you can reset the workspace by clicking on Standard and coming down to Reset Standard. And just tell it to discard any changes. Now what I'm going to do here is bring in some source footage and base my composition on that source footage. So the first thing I'm going to do is import in a movie. There's a few ways to open import. You could go to File and Import, File. You could use your shortcut Apple I if you're on a Mac, or Control I if you're on a PC. Or the easiest way to open up import is just to double click this area inside your project window. And I'm going to target the desktop, the tutorial files folder. I'm looking for lessons 3, and I'm looking for the footage folder. Within that there's a file called Bicon Stand AE Clip 2. Click that and choose open, or just double click it. So this is a piece of DV footage, it tells me at the top here. I can see it's 720 by 576. It's got a rectangular pixel aspect ratio and it's got some fields as well. It's also telling me it's 36 seconds and 17 frames long. Now I could create a composition and put all this data in by going up to Composition, New Composition, and going through all of this here and trying to set it up and match it. I'll just cancel that. But the easiest way is just to drag the movie onto the New Composition button. And if I drop it, you'll see I've now got a new composition. Also, the composition size matches the footage in the comp view and in the timeline for length. So you can see here that the clip is 36 seconds and 17 frames long, 720x576, and my composition is 36 seconds and 17 frames long, 720x576. So this is a very easy way of creating a composition that matches your source media. Now the first thing I'm going to do is break down the finished project. So I'm going to import the finished movie in and have a quick look at it. So again, I'm just going to double click this area in the project window, and I'm going to target the desktop, tutorial files, lessons 3 folder, final movies folder, and I'm looking for Bicon Stand AE Clip 3. Double click that and then double click it in the project window. And I'll just play through this and point out what's going on. First of all, there's a big 3D effect going on. There's some text coming here, here and here. There's also some lightning going on. Then there's some text at the bottom. Sort of fades in, fades out, and then goes off on a motion path and the text breaks down, and then you get a copyright notice. And just go through this a little bit slower. First of all, you get this big 3D effect coming in with all the tiles broken down, and it sort of implodes back in on itself. You just see the lightning coming in up the top left. Then you get the word Saturday, and that fades in, so we'll be dealing with opacity. Then you get the word morning, and that's scaling up. Next you've got the word at the, and you can see the tracking is changing on that. So first of all, we're animating the tracking, and then second, we're animating scale on the letters A and T, and then after that on THE. So it sort of pops at and then the forward. There's also a colour change going on there. You can see some colour moving through this text. The lightning is lining up with it. Then you get the word bike show come in, and each letter fades in one after another. And it fades all back in, and then it goes off on a motion path and moves in between the other letters. And then the word Saturday breaks down, falls apart, and you see it just clips the corner of the morning, and that sort of dissipates off, and then at the dissipates, and the movie fades out, and you get your copyright notice. So this exercise is about dealing with text. There are a lot of ways of dealing with text in After Effects. The first way would be to import EPS or Illustrator files. The second way would be to use a solid layer and use one of the effects plugins like Basic Text to create the text. That's one of the older ways of creating text, and we used to use that before the text tool came in. Now people often ask me why I bother teaching the old way of doing it when we've got a text tool now. And I always say to people that you never know what project you're going to be dealing with. It's alright if you're creating your projects from scratch, but what if you have to work on an older project or update a project that was done a few years ago and they use the solid layer with the effects plugin Basic Text to create their text. Of course, if you've never dealt with it, you don't know how to edit it. So this text here was created using a solid layer with the effect Basic Text. The next text, Morning, is created with the text tool, but we animate it the old way. And what I mean by that is we actually scale the text with the standard scale property, and it has a certain look to it. The next layer, At The, is also created with the text tool, but this time we're using the new Animate property. And this gives you a lot more options for dealing with animating your text. As you see here, we're making the letters A and T animate separately to THE, so there are more parameters in animating your text. The bottom text is also created with the text tool, and they're all on individual layers as well, because they animate separately. And they fade in, and then they go off on a motion path. So this is dealing with a lot of keyframes. It's very important to get to grips with how After Effects deals with keyframes. And of course, when you're dealing with a lot of text layers, you don't want to be creating lots and lots of layers one after another and repeating what you're doing. The other thing on the screen is the lightning, and not only does it move around the screen, but it also follows the text. So we would be dealing with moving keyframes between a text layer and an effect. Also, as the lightning moves off screen, the text breaks down, first the Saturday, then the morning, and then At The. And then the whole lot fades out and you get your copyright notice come in. I'll just close that window down, and I'm going to delete the final movie because I don't need it in my project. And that ends the lesson on setting up a composition and breaking down a project.